I can honestly say I felt as good as I felt going into an exhibition game this year for sure. Going into my 5th year.
Any particular reason why?
Just more experience as a coach, understanding what I want, more prepared as a team. I made sure I kind of covered the whole gamut of everything that we needed, instead of just kind of focusing on a couple areas. We got a lot of work in from June until now, so feeling more prepared in a lot of areas. I know where I need to be, where I want to hang my hat in certain areas, so to say, and much more prepared for sure this year going into the season.
Penny, last time we spoke to you, you said that your team does have capable scorers and shooters. Who were some of those guys that have stood out outside of Kendrick Davis, like secondary?
Well, obviously you got DeAndre Williams, who was a guy. Demaria Franklin, even Keontae Kennedy is a scorer. My son Jaden has been scoring, so it's by committee this year. It's as far as like the guys that can knock down shots. Obviously in the past we've had Landers Nolly, Tyler Harris, and all those guys. That's a Quinones that can really shoot it. Now it's more of scorers than shooters.
Do you miss the buzz? The preseason buzz? It feels like a little bit less of it this year.
Not really. I mean, going into my 5th year, I kind of understand how this works now. The numbers don't mean anything. You got to go out there and prove. So that's what I'm focused on this year. It's not even about, being disrespected if you're not this ranking or that ranking. It's almost like you got to go prove, no matter what happens.
Coach, how do you feel about the chemistry?
I feel really good about the chemistry because the guys have come together and made winning the first priority and put all of their individual goals to the side for team goals. And I think that if we do things the right way, then a lot of those guys' individual goals will still be reached.
Penny, is there any update on the eligibility of Demaria Franklin and Demario?
There is no update on either guy. Obviously, we've been waiting on Demaria, and hopefully that'll turn soon.
Do you feel like with the lack of the external hype this year that you guys maybe find the radar, just maybe going back to the chemistry issue, you maybe the locker room a little bit more cohesive for those last 3 years? You had to deal with that the first half of the season and then make those second half runs.
It's weird because you want to be the hunted. You don't really, we're the hunters all the time. And you want to be one of those teams that are going to be in the top 5 and like, hey, we know we're here, but it doesn't. That's not the end all. You've had teams ranked high before that didn't finish well. You had teams that weren't in the top 25 that finished really well. So for me, I guess being quiet is good because, we understand who we are now. We're not searching for anything. We understand what it takes and what needs to happen. We just have to go do it.
Going back to Demario real quick, his dad's been quoted basically saying, UIC is really holding this up with him, this eligibility stuff. I guess, have you gotten any indication of is this going to be able to be resolved before the season starts? What's happening?
I hope it's resolved because, the language on a lot of these so-called runoff waivers are just not what it really is. If you really care about a kid and it didn't work out at your spot, then it's still a kid. Our ADs have signed off on at least 8 of those for guys. I mean, I'm just saying, to go and play, and then guys went to our teams in our conference, and we still signed off on them. So that's what, to me, it's all about. You don't hold a kid up. You just got to go ahead and just drop your ego and just, sign the paperwork and just say, okay, he's not coming back. We can sign off on it. I think that's what needs to happen.
The guys selected today this week, Elijah and Keontae, have they emerged as your leaders so far?
I don't know if they've emerged as the leaders, but they've emerged as guys that are well respected on the team. Elijah, to me, is kind of the X factor because he's a multiple position guy. He plays 1 through 4. Keontae's shooting is going to be definitely needed, and his defensive prowess as well because he's a good defender. But both are good defenders, but it's like Elijah is the guy that's going to be, 1 through 4, and Keontae being a veteran and being able to knock down shots. But, the leaders are who they are. They're Kendrick, they're Alo, and they're DeAndre. But those guys know who they are, and they definitely star in their roles.
Is there anybody who won't be available Sunday?
I mean, outside of eligibility, no, everybody else will be eligible. Ready.
Any idea which 5 will take the court first on Sunday and what your rotation looks like?
I think we're going to settle that today. I think we kind of have a small clue maybe, but, we're going to settle that today and then kind of work on a rotation. He's to me, arguably one of the top shooters in the country. I'd say top 3 shooters in the country in his class, if not number 1. That's what he does really well. He has a gift, and that's his thing. If you're going to watch him play, he's going to, he has a good IQ of the game, a great IQ of the game. He understands what's going on out there, but he can shoot it really well, and that's definitely always needed. So that's who he is.
Is it a piece you could need here?
Oh my gosh, you can always use shooting. I mean, I know he's my son, but his skill set, it would definitely be needed here.
Who's the better shooter between Ashton and Jaden?
I'll have to give it to Ashton, to be honest. I'm last right now. Jaden shoots it better than me. But Ashton just has that gift. That's his gift. Jaden is getting there, because he's more of a mid-range shooter and a guy that gets into the paint. And Ashton is strictly behind the arc. He's already, transferred his game over to today's game, for sure.
Obviously, I think CBS Sports named Kendrick a second-team All-American in the preseason. I'm curious, bringing in like a lead dog like this on a into a program, how has that gone? Like, how does he look like the same Kendrick Davis that we saw at SMU in your system? How's it gonna be different or the same, if you will?
Well, when you gain the player of the year in your conference, you don't try to do a lot to bother that. You keep him in his comfort zone, but we will help him a ton because we'll put him in positions that he probably didn't have the opportunity to do at SMU. He'll be off the ball some, which will help him. I don't think he really ever got off the ball much at SMU. That helps him a lot because he puts a lot of miles on his body, a lot of minutes, throwing a lot of minutes, doing a lot of things. So I think he'll be fresher this year, but I think that's something that you'll see different. The things that you've been seeing is who he is. He's going to score. He's going to be a guy to get assists, and he's going to be a weapon on the floor at all times.
We talked to you pretty quickly after the hire, he stepped down his own. Now that you've had some time to reflect on it, have you allowed yourself to reflect on it and think about it? Any new thoughts or?
I think the only thing I'll say about that, and I mean this from my heart, everything was innocent from the beginning. I got pulled into this, so I'm back to normal because thank God that the decision was what it was. But my heart has always been pure. Coming back to Memphis and doing what I did in the community, it's never been for an advantage of any sort. So the decision was what it should have been in my mind because I've been doing philanthropic work in the community for years, and just because I became the coach at Memphis doesn't mean that I was doing things wrong to get these kids to come here. It's just I'm back to normal to what I've always been.
In the exhibition game on Sunday, in these 2 exhibition games, is there any sort of, other personnel battles or anything like that you're still trying that are going to be, potentially settled in these games or these next 2 weeks, or do you feel like have a pretty good sense of like, okay, this is my, this is going to be my rotation going into the year?
I don't think it's set. I think, guys, this is auditioning, the first 2 games before we have to go to Vandy. I think that we need to see who are games. Some guys are gamers. Some guys aren't practice players. So we need to see who's who in the games. If everybody's going to be able to transfer and carry over what we teach to the games, because that's so important. It's not just about going to play basketball. It's about everything that we do defensively and recognizing things of that nature and knowing what we're trying to do offensively. And being aware of that definitely is going to bode well for them as far as moving forward on who we're going to put in the starting lineup and rotation. Thanks.